Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and these days I make a lot of YouTube videos about clocks and watches, but I used to make a bunch of videos about the solar panels that are on the roof of our house. I had them installed about 5.5 years ago. Everything's running well, but today I wanted to talk about something related to those solar panels, and that's this new smart meter that's been installed on our house from Rocky Mountain Power. Now, where I live, our connection to the grid is Rocky Mountain Power. So we pay our bills, and everything that has to do with our connection to the grid is run through Rocky Mountain Power. And so the other day they came by and they installed this meter. This is the third meter we've had on this house in about 20 years since the house was built. So the first meter we had was a digital meter, and it would measure how much electricity we were bringing in from the grid. And that was as simple as that. So I had a digital readout here. You know, the old style meters before that, the analog meters, had this little disc inside. It was maybe a little bit smaller than a compact disc, and sat there horizontally, and you could look at it and you could watch it turn. And if you had everything turned on, the air conditioner, maybe you got running the dryer, everything turned on inside the house, you watch this thing and it would spin really fast. And then maybe when everything was turned off inside the house, it would stop, or maybe just a couple things that were barely drawing power you could watch, and this little disc would spin very, very slowly. So you could tell, just by looking at this, spinning fast, spinning slow. And then when people started tying their solar panels to the grid, they said they could watch that disc spin the other direction when they were putting power back out to the grid. Well, I never had a meter like that connected to our solar panels, but instead we had that simple one that just would measure the kilowatt hours that we used, and they would bill us once a month based on our usage. In case you don't know what a kilowatt hour is, too bad it's not like a gigawatt hour, but that would be a lot of electricity. Kilowatt hour is how much, this is the unit they use to decide how much electricity you are using from the grid. So let's say you have a device that uses 1,000 watts of electricity and you run it for 1 hour. 1,000 watts is a kilowatt. So you run that for an hour, that's a kilowatt hour. Let's say you're running something that's only using 500 watts, half a kilowatt, and you run that for 2 hours. That would also add up to 1 kilowatt hour. Let's say you've got something that's running, it uses 2,000 watts. It's like a hair dryer or something, just something like that. Some major tool, appliance, whatever, that uses 2,000 watts. You run that for half an hour and you've used 1 kilowatt hour. Okay, so that's how they determine how much electricity you're using. So our meter would show just a cumulative number. How many kilowatt hours have we drawn in from the grid since the meter was installed? And so when I got solar panels and I wanted them tied to the grid, so we'd be pulling in electricity when the solar panels weren't working, and we'd be pushing electricity back out when the solar panels were at maximum generation, we needed what they called a net meter, which would measure both incoming and outgoing electricity. And so that net meter had two readouts. One would be the cumulative kilowatt hours that had come in from the grid, and the other, the cumulative kilowatt hours that went out from the grid. Once a month, they would take that reading and figure out the difference and bill us accordingly. So now this is a new smart meter, and this does things even just a little bit different from that. And when they installed it, they left this, this is something you could kind of, hang on the doorknob. It says, "We have upgraded your meter. Rocky Mountain Power visited today and upgraded your meter. Go ahead, take a look." And then it says here on the back, "What's different about my new meter? Your new smart meter sends regular updates to Rocky Mountain Power about your total energy use and any outages. It operates on a secure wireless network and helps us provide better, more responsive service. What are the benefits? Your new meter will help us respond faster to outages while keeping electricity prices among the lowest in the nation. You'll have access to deeper insights into your energy use to better control your monthly bills. Where can I see my energy usage? Once your installation is complete, you can track your energy use, access your billing forecast, set up alerts, and more through your online Rocky Mountain Power account. If you don't have an account, go there and set one up. And if you're want to learn more, you can go to the website and find out more about that." So they left this here. I looked it up, and I got a little bit of insight into what this meter here is doing. And basically what it does, it allows Rocky Mountain Power to monitor our electrical usage minute by minute, just all the time. they can see how much we're using. See, with the other meter, my understanding is it had some sort of a little transmitter in it so that when it came time to read the meter to figure out our bill, maybe they could just drive down the street in one of their Rocky Mountain Power vehicles and it would have some sort of receiver that would pick up, the reading from here. Used to be in the old days with the analog meter, with the one with the spinning disc, someone would have to come by, walk the neighborhood, walk up to our house, come right here and read the readout and write it down and then go to the next house. So with the meter that we've had here before, the two previous meters, I don't think anyone had to come here to the house. They could just be, driving down the road, pick up that signal, and once a month they would know how much the meter was showing, how much we'd used. But with this now, it's a constant monitoring. So they installed this for us, but I can see the neighbor's meter right over there. That's still the same style as the original meter we had on the house about 20 years ago. So they haven't upgraded the entire area to this kind of a smart meter. Maybe they will. What this smart meter does, it allows them to change the way they bill for the electricity usage. So, for example, right now, there's an incentive for me to not use as much electricity, to conserve electricity through the month. Because for the first 400 kilowatt hours that we use each month, they charge us at a certain rate. And then for the next 600 up to the 1,000 kilowatt hours, they charge us at a little bit higher rate per kilowatt hour. And if we use more than 1,000 kilowatt hours in a month, they charge us the rest of that at an even higher rate. Okay, and so that's the incentive for us to kind of conserve, but it's for the entire month. We could use tons of electricity for the first week and then cut it way down for the next 3 weeks, and it would all even out. Well, with this smart meter, they can do that, day by day, hour by hour, and also they can charge us instead of just charging more for the whole month if we use a lot of electricity, they can charge us if we use a lot of electricity during peak times of each and every day. All right? So, for example, if it were a really hot summer day and people were gone during the day, there's not much running inside the house, the air conditioner is basically turned off for a while, and there's not much electricity being used during most of the daylight hours. But then when people start to come home from work, say 5 o'clock in the afternoon, early evening, all of a sudden people are cranking up the air conditioner to bring the temperature down in the house. They're turning on the oven because they're getting ready to make dinner. Maybe they're going to do some laundry. All these things that are using a lot of electricity, turning on all at once. So this is a peak usage time, high demand time for electricity. And the folks that are running the generators, the hydroelectric generators or the windmills or the power plants that are burning coal and natural gas, they have to crank things up and increase their output for those specific times when most of the customers are increasing their usage of electricity. So they want to charge more if you're one of those people that uses a lot of electricity during that exact time period. And with this smart meter, they can monitor that. And they can know that at what time of day I crank everything up and I start using more electricity. So there are places in the country where that's already happening. They are charging people more during peak usage times and charging less for times when it's not peak usage. For example, if I wait and do the laundry or run the dishwasher, say when it's time for me to go to bed, when demand is getting lower, then they're not going to charge me as much if I run those appliances late at night or even overnight while I'm sleeping. While most people are asleep, the demand for electricity is very, very low, so they might charge a lower rate during that time. So I might have to put my appliances on timers so that they start themselves and run themselves overnight while we're sleeping, and I'm getting the lower rate. Now, they don't bill us that way here. I know they do it in other parts of the country, but they can start billing us that way right now. In fact, I can opt into that sort of billing right now because I have this smart meter. Now, maybe you don't want them kind of snooping on your usage of electricity, so you'd rather opt out of this. Well, they told me and all the other customers, yeah, you can opt out of this, but it'll cost you. So, normally you'd say, if you came to my house to upgrade something, that I should pay for that. But they're saying, oh, no, no, no. If you don't want us to come out and do maintenance on your house, you have to pay for us not to come. So there must be some good incentive for them to want to have these in the houses. So I think that maybe the day will come when they will have these around, and there won't be the option of opting out. Right now I could opt out. So what they would do, since they've already changed it, they would charge me, it's almost $300 to swap it back to the old style of meter that was here. So I can do that. They would just charge me for that. And they would charge me an extra $22 per month for them to have to come and read these things, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if the neighbor right there has the other style meter, I know they would be in the neighborhood reading these things or driving down the road, whatever they do. So why should it cost them an extra $22 to go from that neighbor's house to here to take a reading here? Or actually, they would literally do it by driving down the street. So it is kind of a, it just doesn't make sense to me. It costs $22 for me to opt out when the neighbor there is so far not affected by this. But, that's how these big companies operate anyway. So as it turns out, I have this, and it is a net meter. So it is a smart meter constantly sending usage information to the power company. And I can go online and I can look up week by week and day by day and see what my electricity usage was on those days and even throughout the day. So I can see, there's already a graph where I can see on a specific day that our electricity usage was at a certain rate, and then all of a sudden when the solar panels kick in, I can see where that went way down basically to nothing until later in the day when the solar panels they start running out of light, and all of a sudden we're taking from the grid again. So it shows me that on a graph. I can look at that right now. That's kind of interesting, but maybe most people wouldn't think it was that interesting. They wouldn't be that curious to look at it, but I can look at that. No, that's kind of fun. It is neat to me to see the interaction between our solar panels and the grid, and how that goes up and down depending on whether it's a nice sunny day like this, or it's a cloudy day, or there's snow on the solar panels, or whatever, or if we're using a lot of electricity, or if we're not using a lot of electricity. It's fun to see that. And let me just show you quickly exactly what this meter is showing now. All right, so it just cycles through and kind of shows you these readouts. That's just kind of showing you that it's working. 16, that's showing me the maximum kilowatts that it has registered for my usage at any given time. So there must have been, when a few things were turned on, we got up to 3.4 kilowatts of electricity used at that moment. That doesn't affect me, but if I were a business customer, they might charge me more if that number were very high. And that resets at the end of every billing cycle. So after that, the next number that it shows is the amount that we've brought in from the grid in the life of this meter. So far, it's 958 kilowatt hours have been brought in from the grid. And the answer to that is the next number that's showing how much we've put back into the grid since this meter was installed. So you can see there that we've taken in more than we've put out, but that's because we're at the very beginning of the springtime. And here in the next few days, that number will start to turn around. We'll be sending out more every day than we take in. And our best time for generating electricity is here coming up during the next 3 months. And so those numbers will cross over. The amount we're sending out will be higher than the amount we've taken in. But then as we get to the end of the summer and into the winter, that'll turn around again. But with any luck, those numbers will stay pretty even with each other. We'll be generating as much as we're making over the course of a long period of time. After that, again, just something that's showing that it is connected to the system. And then we see the actual real-time amount of electricity we're using. So instead of that spinning disc showing us how much we're using, it actually has a readout there saying you are using this much electricity, this many watts or kilowatts right now. And right now it's showing 0 because it's a bright sunny day, and right now our solar panels are generating more than we're using inside the house. So we are sending out to the grid right now. That's why that number shows 0. It'd be fun if it showed a negative number and showed exactly how much we're sending out to the grid moment by moment, but it doesn't do that. So later on, when the solar panels aren't generating as much, and we're using electricity in the house, it will show a positive number more than 0, and so that will indicate, hey, this is how many watts you're using right now, right this minute. And that could be an interesting number to know for a lot of folks. And apart from that, this little indication right here, this is kind of the digital equivalent of what that little spinning disc used to be. They're just those little LCD boxes that kind of give a little animation like it's going in that direction. And at the end of the row there's a little arrow pointing that direction. And that indicates that overall, we are sending electricity out to the grid at this moment. Now, if the solar panels were not working and we're bringing in more electricity from the grid than we're generating, then you would see that animation reverse course and showing that electricity is coming in from the grid. So this is everything that the meter is showing us right now in real time. And that's it for now, really. I just wanted you to know that if you receive notice from your power company that they're going to come out and swap out your meter to a smart meter, this is basically what you're going to get. And it allows you to monitor your usage hour by hour. If you want to do that, it allows them to monitor your usage hour by hour. Now, currently, if there is a power failure here at my house, I can come out here and I can look at this meter and the other digital meters I had before. I could look, and if the meter is blank, that indicates to me that there's nothing coming from the grid at all into our house, not even to this meter. It indicates to me that there's something wrong. The grid is down, power is out, and this is the time when you're supposed to call the power company and say, hey, we have a power failure, wanted to report that so you guys could get on top of that. Sometimes I would call them and I'd receive, it would be like an automated message that would say, oh, you're the first to call this in. And sometimes it would say, we are aware of an outage in your area, we're sending crews out. Or they would say, we're aware, we've got a crew on scene, and we estimate power will be restored at 11 p.m. or whatever. They could tell you that stuff now. Now, supposedly, since this is constantly sending out information about our usage, if the grid is down completely and this thing shuts down completely, then they know instantly that there's a power failure here. And in theory, I wouldn't even have to call them because they would know, because all the customers in the area that have one of these would be instantly reporting to them nothing, and they know, oh, this is the area where there's a power failure, we better go out and fix that. So, that could be a good thing. I don't know if this billing based on peak usage is better or worse than what I'm doing now, especially when you factor in the solar panels to it. I don't know if it'll be better or worse for you as far as how much you will be paying if they put one of these on your house. I don't know. Of course, this would allow you to monitor what you're doing, so you could change your behavior and start using electricity, like I said, overnight, using your major appliances when peak usage is not a factor. Or, I don't know, just see how it works out. But I anticipate that in the near future, everyone is going to have one of these, and you won't really have a choice as far as whether or not you want to be billed during peak usage hours instead of just having one cumulative total at the end of each billing cycle. We'll see what happens, but obviously they're getting the infrastructure in place right now so that they can change the way they run things. When I got the solar panels installed, they assured us that we'd have about 18 years, that they would not change the deal that they had with us as far as, we generate electricity and put it back into the grid, and we get a certain amount of credit for that, and then they bill us accordingly. So we're already, a good 5 years into that deal, almost 6 years. So we'll see what happens about 12 or 13 years from now if they change the deal on me. By then, I hope I would have some sort of backup battery to take care of us so that when we're over generating, it goes to our battery, and that again delays or significantly lowers our reliance on the grid for what we're doing. But we'll see what happens. I've got a few years to figure that out. Right now, batteries are kind of expensive. I'm hoping there's some major breakthrough, and I'll report to you as soon as we do any more changes with our the way we're managing our electricity in our house. But just for those of you who may have seen my previous videos, what I can report to you is that the solar panels are working exactly like they said they would. They're costing us exactly what they said they would. I'm still happy with how our solar panels are interacting with the grid and helping us to make electricity using the space that would otherwise not be used on the roof of our house. That's all for now, and I hope you join me for more videos, even the videos that are about watches and clocks, on the Good Timekeeping Show right here on this YouTube channel.